Hey, Expedition, now rocking with your boy KORXKLL, the last son of Planet Xbox, and you're listening to Super Podshots. Big stuff today, man. I know people are looking at it as a rumor right now, and usually I'm not the type to be like, okay, I told you so, yada yada yada. But listen, man, I try to be honest with whatever I do or say, and when I said that, listen, I had someone speak to me about this type of information. I wasn't BSing. I know a lot of people was blowing it off and stuff like that, but I was not BSing. I kept it real with you. You keep it real with me. And listen, Kotaku came out today with some big news. I want to go over it with you guys, and I want to explain to you how we may actually have been wrong about 10 teraflops. And it's crazy to think that Microsoft will actually pull this off, how they're going to pull it off. But, when I explained to you my theory on it, and somebody had brought it up to me, I thought that it was like, oh my God, this is too conspiracy theory, but it really lines up because that's what companies do when they use code names. So let's begin. First and foremost, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to jump right into what the news was about and how it came out. So news was reported by Kotaku today. And here's what Microsoft is supposedly supposed to be presenting at over the next course of events, I guess over the next year. The first thing Microsoft talked about was an Xbox streaming stick similar to Chromecast. Now, we've been talking about this for months. There's a reason why Microsoft is getting not so much out of the console market, but they're not really looking at Sony as competition. They're looking at Google. They're looking at Apple. That's their competitors. Remember, Microsoft is the number 3 or the number 2 largest company in the world. And in that respect, and there's no disrespect to Sony as a company, but in that respect, Sony's not on their level. Gaming's a different thing. But just as a company, Sony's not there. We're talking about Microsoft, Google, Apple. And that's just really how it works out. So Xbox is supposed to be working on some type of streaming stick similar to Chromecast, and Xbox TV similar to Roku Apple TV, not an Xbox One Slim. And that right there says a lot to me because Microsoft getting into the whole fray when it comes to TV, a lot of people's like, oh my God, they're going back to TV, but everybody's doing TV. They're cutting the cable cord, but they're giving you other ways of doing it. My homeboy just hit me up the other day trying to compare whether or not he should get Sling TV on Xbox or he should get the PlayStation Vue. And surprisingly, I thought the PlayStation Vue would be more expensive and have less features, but actually it wasn't that bad. For $29 a month, you get like 55 channels plus local channels. You couldn't beat that, man. And it had like built-in DVR or whatever. So it was pretty, not DVR, it was built-in on-demand or replay or something like that. But in my opinion, that was really dope. Yeah, I mean, the Vue, that's a solid feature. So for anybody to come out and try to downplay what Microsoft was trying to do with the Xbox streaming stick and the Xbox TV, Roku, Apple competition type thing, that would be dumb to do. Microsoft coming out with their own type of television TV feature set, I don't know how that's going to work. I looked at it from the perspective that they scrapped the whole idea of TV last year. Once Phil took over, they got rid of the whole, Humans, which actually turned out to be a really good show. If you haven't seen Humans, my wife, for some apparent reason, bought Amazon Prime, and which kind of irritated me at the time because I'm like, I have Hulu, I have Netflix, and Crunchyroll. Why the hell do I need Amazon Prime? But I'm actually glad that she got it because there was some really cool shows on there that I got a chance to capture, and one of them was Humans. And watching Humans actually was a really good show. And had that show released on the Xbox, it would have been one of the better shows Microsoft put out. I mean, it really was a really good show and very interesting. But that's off the subject. The point being is that Microsoft scrapped Humans and they sold it. They still have not produced the Halo TV show that's supposed to be produced by Steven Spielberg, and that was talked about and is supposed to be still in production. That is not something that they had canceled. So being that wasn't something that they had canceled, it's funny that suddenly Microsoft was starting to produce TV stuff again. I'm like surprised, like why would they produce TV stuff? To me, it makes no sense. But that's the foray that they're trying to get into. And to me, it's a bit weird, but I can't knock them for that. Now, as we start to get further in, they talk about a new Xbox that's supposed to be dropping in 2016. This Xbox is supposed to be an Xbox Mini. Doesn't sound like a Slim, a Mini. Maybe it's a smaller cube version of the Xbox, but this smaller cube version of the Xbox is supposed to put out 4K streaming resolution, which means that this new mini Xbox is actually an upgraded box. In some form of way, they've upgraded the box. I don't know what they've put into it, but we're going to get an upgraded slim version of the console. Maybe not power-wise, maybe not over the top, but some type of second-tier console where it's like they're putting out 4K streaming. And it's similar to the Neo. And I think that's really cool. And that's cool that they're going to compete at the same time. You have the Neo supposedly coming out at the end of the year to coincide with VR. And then you also have this Xbox that's supposed to output 4K resolution. And they're saying that's supposed to be revealed later this year. Now, I don't know how many people is going to buy it. I mean, the big news that came out was that Microsoft is dropping a new console next year. And again, this is all rumor, but this is the reason why I'm saying to myself, I feel like this is true. And I'll tell you why I think this is true. So this big, the big thing is that you got the Slim coming out. So 1.5 is putting out 4K resolution. I told you guys this, I don't know how many times over the last couple of weeks. I got birds chirping in my DMs. I'm talking to people. They're letting me know things. Everybody's blowing me off like, nah, that's not coming. It's, be out in 2018, 2019, and yada, 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 bro. I'm telling you, I said I would pay $500 for the most powerful machine you could put out, and they are about to put out possibly the most powerful machine next year. So this 1.5 sounds good. I don't know if I want to pick it up. It's supposed to have 2 terabytes of hard drive space. That's crazy. That's a big upgrade. I don't know how much that's going to cost. According to the news, it says here that sources have told Kotaku that at least there's one more compact version of the Xbox One coming at the end of the year. The source believes it will include a large 2 terabyte hard drive, double the capacity of most spacious current models. They're also expecting Microsoft to announce a more compact machine at E3 next month. And that was reported by Kotaku's Jason Schreier and Kotaku UK's Keza McDonald. And they both independently corroborated the information. So if you have 2 people coming at you at the same time from 2 different locations and they giving you the same news, that must say something. That says something. And I think a lot of people who maybe want to get an Xbox, they could pick one up. I think that it's smart that Microsoft is doing it this way. I feel like they're about to drop 3 tiers of Xboxes on us. You have the Xbox Basic, which is what we all have and what I've been calling it lately, the Xbox Basic, because that's what it is. And then you have your upgraded Xbox 1.5, which is supposed to be the Xbox Mini, dropping at the end of the year, 4K streaming output. I personally have YouTube 4K. It's like $11 a month, and you can stream on your 4K TV, which I have a 4K TV right there. And you're able to watch shows. I know I watched Daredevil in 4K, and I watched a few movies in 4K, and it's beautiful, man. It's really nice. So Microsoft putting out 4K, I can see now they're going to take the next step and start doing things in 4K. But listen, let's get to the meat and potatoes, because I don't want to be doing this show all day for hours. It's going to be a 40-minute show. I'm going to do a 20-minute question things, and we're going to wrap this up. This Xbox is supposed to be coming out. Oh man, I'm so excited. I'm buzzing right now. The Xbox supposed to be coming out is code name Scorpio. Now, anytime you have a console, and I know what you're gonna say when you hear this, you're gonna say, Cal, listen, you are superly over-exaggerating this. You're over-exaggerating this. You're blowing it way out of proportion. Listen to what I'm saying. Code name Scorpio for the next Xbox console. Right? Remember how we all talked about someone put out a rumor about the next Xbox console is supposed to be 10 teraflops. When you think about the name Scorpio, anytime they take these code names, there's always a meaning behind it. Scorpio is a constellation. It's the 10th month in the year. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Windows 10. Windows 10. I just want you to think about what I'm saying right now. 10 teraflops. If that's not saying something, if you're not being blown away about what I'm telling you right now as a code name for this console, you're missing out. The crazy thing about it is that somebody brought up some really cool statement, shall I say. And what he said was the significance of, the significance of like the code name for Scorpio and scorpions and things like that. Like scorpions will kill themselves before they let themselves die. And that's pretty much what Microsoft may seem like they'd be doing in cutting off people who will probably upgrade from the Xbox One to either the Xbox Mini or the Xbox more powerful machine. I don't know how much that machine is going to cost. I don't know what they figured out, but more than likely within a year, whatever that cost was will probably reduce because as we know, over time, things depreciate and so does the value of what you're putting into your machine. So if Microsoft figures out a way to actually pull this off, codename Scorpio, with 10 teraflops, a Windows 10 machine. And there was another thing too. I can't remember what it was. It had something to do with a 10 APU 10 something. Something with the APU was like 10 something. It was like 3 10s. I'm like, dude, that's too coincidental. It's too coincidental for it not to fall in line. You put out the console, which is the Xbox One Mini, to compete with the Neo. You don't put out the next console after that the next year to compete with the Neo. Microsoft is about to be ahead of the game. And if Sony then comes out with another console, you already have 10 teraflops in there and more than likely a very powerful GPU. So whatever they drop, you're still able to compete with because you're ahead of the game. I think that makes absolute sense. Phil Spencer said he doesn't like 1.5s. So clearly we don't look at the Xbox Mini as a 1.5. That is not an upgradable console. It is a console that's going to do 4K streaming, and it's a smaller version of the Xbox One. He stated that if I come out with a console, I want it to be a significant jump in power. That was a key word in what he said, a significant jump in power, meaning that he's not trying to do an incremental upgrade. We're not talking about, an upclock. We're talking about a new GPU, a new CPU, and possibly the processing power to go with it. Now, to top all of this off, Microsoft now has also stated, I won't say they stated, let me not say that because they did not state that. But the last rumor is that Microsoft is working on an interface exactly like the Xbox for PC. Not the Xbox app, but some type of interface where you're playing a PC and it literally is an Xbox. Then they are going to go hard in this Windows 10 initiative. And you might as well now, from here on out, everything that we thought about when it came to Xbox and what won't hit PC, throw it out the window. Just throw it out the window. Halo 5, going to PC. Forza's going to PC. Scalebound, going to PC. Your girl, your moms, they all going to PC. Just face it. Just face it. That's just what it is. They are all going to PC. And what's even crazy is that with them all going to PC, and you have this new, more powerful console that's out that can actually hang with a PC, it's starting to make sense. Microsoft is really going all out. And it's not that they're trying to make Xbox into Windows. They're trying to turn Windows into Xbox. They're making PC into a console. I stated this before numerous times. They're trying to make PC into a console. And it's getting crazier and crazier and crazier the more you start to look at what they're doing and what they're trying to do. So, me personally, I sat up there and I was like, well, maybe it's just a rumor, right? Now, usually when Microsoft comes out and there's a rumor, they immediately squash it. They try to immediately squash it. But in this instance, when they asked Phil Spencer the question, he didn't squash it at all. I'll tell you what Phil said. Phil came out and he responded to the rumor. And what he said was, and I quote, if it pops up in time, okay. And what he said was, there's lots of creative chatter today, excited to share our gaming story at E3 on June 13th. Now, all of this information came out today. If any part of that information, if anything that had came out today was overly exaggerated, Phil is the type of person to Phil is like a killjoy. You know what I'm saying? He's the type of person to put like a damp towel on a roaring fire, just like, no, we're gonna put this out. We don't want this getting too hot. That's not what he's doing. I don't think you understand the hype level that some Xbox fans have. And for all of the people out there that's like, well, Xbox fans are being hypocritical. They was trashing the Neo and the Neo upgrades, and I never trashed the Neo. So don't put me in that group. I've been for upgrades for the longest time. I said this before. There's a reason why both the PlayStation and the Xbox are upgrading their consoles. People keep saying to me, Cal, listen, the Xbox has there's more they can pull out of it. There's more they can pull out the PlayStation. These consoles are base consoles, bro. They are base. These are your most basic consoles from here on out. And I've heard that they're gonna drop the Xbox eventually to like 179. 179. That's incredibly fast to drop the price of the console that low. And that's a rumor. That one is something that I recently just read and I just found out. And I don't know how true that will be. Maybe it'll be 199. I can see that it being 199. 179 is the stretch. I mean, it's only, a $20 difference. But still, even then, that's a bit of a stretch. But you turn around, maybe you sell the Xbox Mini for what then? $399 for 400. That sounds about right. And then next year you come out with this new console. As I said before, that console can't be more than $600. Sony struggled trying to push the PlayStation 3 at $600. No matter how powerful it was, they struggled. I don't think Microsoft could do that. First of all, Microsoft can't put themselves in a position to pump out a console at $600 after what they've done this generation, and when it comes to communication, fan feedback, all the people who left Xbox and went over to PlayStation and things like that, they can't put themselves in a position where they can't let their console be affordable. They have to be able to either make this console $500 because the hardcore will buy it, because we all did. All the Xbox guys who were hardcore, who didn't give a damn about what they were talking about when they announced it, and who were all for it, or they changed their minds and they decided to get it at launch, they went out and they bought the console. The console sold extremely well. I think it broke a record, but nothing like PlayStation did. Like PlayStation broke a crazy record, but I think it broke a record as well when it sold. The hardcore will go out and buy it at $500. You sold it at $400, everybody buys it. I don't know if you can get it down to $400 though. I don't see it dropping down to $400. On top of that, they're saying that there's a new controller that's going to be added with this console. And Scorpio is supposed to be Oculus Rift compatible. Oculus Rift compatible with this one. So not only will you get this more powerful console, you get a new design controller, and you get an Oculus Rift compatible console to I guess compete with PSVR and an HTC Vive and whatever other VR iterations that'll be out there. I feel like Microsoft is covering all their bases. If they're able to then show us the games next year, looking upgraded on this console. Imagine what Quantum Break would look like on the console now, on this new one. Because remember, all these games are backwards compatible. That was the whole point. I think a lot of people are glossing over that, thinking that, you know, they're going to have to make 2 games or 3 games for all these consoles. All these consoles will have the same API. They will all run under the Universal Windows platform. So building one game is all you need to work across all these things. Phil spoke about backwards compatible games, which means you'll be able to play the Xbox One games. You'll be able to play the Xbox 360 games. I damn sure would not be surprised if they announced original Xbox OG games to be backwards compatible at E3. I would not be surprised with that either. I don't think that's really that significant unless they're like, hey, you know, all these games will be, you know, free with games with gold as well. And they give you like Shenmue 2 and KOTOR and the Jade Empire and Microsoft. Then you might be like, oh my God, you know, that's pretty dope. At least for the nostalgia factor. A lot of times you play these old school games and you're like, bro, I can't do this. I've done that on a number of occasions. I think the only game I can really go back and play is my favorite game of all time, which is Chrono Trigger. That's like one of the few games I can go back and really be like, oh my God, I could deal with the graphics because it was like Sprite. And plus it was drawn by Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball Z, as well as some of the, you know, greatest animes out there that you guys know of and stuff like that. So I just think that Microsoft, if this is all true, I think this is very, very smart. You put yourself in a position where you're able to give everybody who wants a console a console. If you want an Xbox, you can get an Xbox One. If you want an Xbox Mini, you'll be able to afford an Xbox Mini. And I think, like I said a while back, they talked about premium, selling premium things. That was really big for them. They sold the Xbox Elite controller. They turned around and they sold, they talked about doing a headset as well. Maybe keyboard and mouse at some point. And the Elite controller sold extremely well. I mean, the thing sold out at like $200, $250 a pop. It was sold out the first day. So that really woke them up to premium services. You know, going all digital in the future, I think Microsoft, you know, is on the path, man. I think that is the console that's going to do it. Especially trying to integrate something like digital traders. I can't stress enough. I said this a long time ago, and I said this to Phil too, I think. I can't remember exactly when he was on the show, but I said this to Phil too. I said, listen, first company that comes out with digital traders wins. And I know it doesn't make sense because it's not a physical copy. But even if you give somebody back 10% for what they purchased, if it's a game that you bought and you know you're not going to play it anymore, and you don't want to get rid of it, if they even give you $6 back for the game, that's $6 you wouldn't have got, because usually for digital traders don't exist. They don't exist. So getting any type of you know, income back for it would be major in itself. So I just think that you know, Microsoft being able to, if they put out this new console next year, codenamed Scorpion. So I keep saying Scorpion, codenamed Scorpio. And I think that's really significant that they chose Scorpio, not Scorpion. Scorpio as in the constellation, as in the 10th month of the year. They've been pushing Windows 10 down, pushing Windows 10 down our throats for the longest time. And you know, you had the whole rumor about from Eurogamer Italy that we all blew off about the console being 10 teraflops. That's too many 10s, bro. That's too many 10s for me anyway. So I think that it may be true. Phil Spencer not coming out and saying, no, we're not showing any hardware at E3. No, remember, I told you this before. You can't listen to what Phil's saying. You can't listen to what any Microsoft exec is saying. They'll tell you one thing, and it's not that they're lying, but they're just telling you one thing and they do another. That's what they do. I think it's smart. I really do. I think it's smart. They make you believe one thing and then something else happens. And it's probably the smartest thing that they can do. And I'm really glad that this news is coming out now. It didn't come out earlier, because like with the Neo, you have all these speculations and nobody knows what's happening. And shout out to my homie in the Inner Circle Network member, Kid Smooth, who was able to get some leaked information on the Neo today. I wasn't able to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it because this is the Xbox channel, but definitely hit up Kid Smooth channel, man. If you want to check that out. He had got some leaked information he hit me up with today, and it looked legit, man. Some real documentation that I can actually vouch for, which is pretty dope in itself. And it looks like exactly what was put out is exactly what you're probably going to get with the Neo, unless they miraculously change things around. But again, it all goes back to what Microsoft is doing. Microsoft coming out and trying to put out a TV stick, 2 consoles, and a new way to play games on PC. You talk about work. You talk about mind-blowing bombs. That's huge. I mean, I'd rather them try to get this out of the way. Please don't do it at E3. I really don't want them to do it at E3. I really want to see what they're going to show us exclusively. I can vouch for this. Like I said before, I speak to Phil often, and we message via DM, and I can ask him a few questions here and there. He's willing to talk to me about those things, and I know that they have new IPs coming out, and I know they have new games lined up that they haven't announced yet. And I'm pretty sure Forza is one of them, but I'm pretty sure they also have some new games as well. And I remember when he came on the show in 2014, he said he had games locked up to 2017, which to me was like, wow, that's crazy. And I thought that was really important. But I think that it's really important that this console that they're trying to produce, if this rumor is true, if it's not true, they make it true. Because this is the end. I said this in my last episode. This is the end of the Don Matrick era. People thought the Don Matrick era ended when Don Matrick left the company. It did not. All the games that got signed out of that $1 billion that he had announced when they announced the Xbox platform, which, by the way, wasn't at E3. A lot of people get that confused, but that announcement was not at E3. That was a separate announcement in itself. And at the end of the show, they showed Rise, and he said that he invested $1 billion in games. That $1 billion in games, I believe, the last game coming is Scalebound. That is the last game coming out of that $1 billion in games. You think about all the games that they've purchased, all the games that they've funded, all the games that they've marketed, and things like that. Whether it's exclusive DLC, time DLC, a time exclusive, all of the stuff that was under the Don Matrick era. I think this whole Windows 10 thing is under the Phil Spencer, Satya Nadella era. It just sounds like it. Windows 10 integration, Xbox on PC, 10 teraflops in a console. What? One, a mini Xbox that can output 4K streaming. You're talking about Roku sticks and Xbox TV. Like what? Like it sounds like you're doing what Apple is doing, and you're doing what Android is doing in that regard, and you're putting the power of a PC into your console, and you have one universal API where games work across every console you get, and it's backwards compatible, it's forwards compatible. Imagine, and this is the big thing that Phil said, which was crazy. Imagine having your ID, your GT, your gamer tag, and no matter what console you go to, your games follow you. Just like your music, just like your movies or your pictures or whatever it is you might have on your cellular phone. As you upgrade, you're able to bring those licenses with you because they're attached to your name. I think it's the same thing, and that's what he's saying. If you have a whole bunch of games that are BC for Xbox 360, and you have a whole bunch of digital games you purchased on Xbox One, if you get this Xbox Scorpio, all those games will transfer over as well with you on the upgrade, because it follows your GT, and all you have to do is re-download them, and it's playable. All of that will be playable. Could you imagine, by like the generation after the Scorpio, how many games you can have in your library? We're talking about thousands of games, especially people who are achievement hunters, and you got games with gold, you got deals with gold. This so much potential. And the difference between PlayStation's version with the PS4 and the Neo is that, they're forcing developers to make 2 games, and they have to be identical, and they have to work together, and the people have to be able to play together. And if Microsoft can get, and I want people to understand something, it's not the UWP that's messing up the games on PC. It's Windows 10. The store is Windows 10 that was messing up games on PC, and they're trying to fix that. They're trying to fix that. They came out, they had some upgrades. I don't know how it works. I'm not a PC gamer. I'm a console gamer. But they're trying to fix that. They hear the fans out there. I know that's for sure. They're trying to work on that and get that fixed. I guess it's very important for them because they've had an increase in revenue, selling their games out to the consumers. So I just think that if Microsoft is able to really pull this off, it's an exciting time for Xbox fans. I think people will upgrade. I think people will get it. And it changes the game because now if Sony doesn't come out with a console that's just as powerful or announce something that they have a Neo and then they have a PlayStation 5 coming out in fall, something like that, that puts Microsoft in pole position to be the lead console when it comes to third-party support. And as I stated before, in order for Microsoft to truly probably gain back a lot of the install base or get enough respect back, they really need to be in a position where third-party support goes through them because they don't gain enough respect worldwide. Yes, in the UK, yes, in America, they get it. Yes, in South America, yes, in Canada, yes, in Australia, they get that respect. But in the East and in Eastern Europe, they really don't. And really, if you are in control of third parties, we all know that exclusives make a console unique. But you'll be surprised how many people buy consoles for third parties. And if it looks good and if it's being word of mouth is told that it's the best on this console, you have more people picking it up. And that's not to say that they'll outsell whatever Sony puts out, because in Japan and in the East, no matter what Microsoft does, they just won't be liked unless some miracle happens and people start to look at them different and their image gets an amazing uptake, and everybody's like, okay, I trust Xbox again. But in that regard, if they don't have that respect. So in order for them to, in my opinion, in order for them to get back in the position they have to be in, they need to be in a position where third parties are running to them and third party support the best, the games come out best and run best on their console. And that's really what it comes down to. And I think if they're code naming it Scorpio, it definitely is Windows 10. And I think it definitely has 10 teraflops now. I was wrong. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't. And I'm not have to say that's impossible. I'm thinking about price now. I don't even care about design. Whatever they're doing design-wise, they're engineers. Okay, we're talking about some of the best engineers in the world. Whether it's Sony, whether it's PlayStation, whether it's Nintendo, these guys design these consoles and they figure out how to get things done. But what I do know is that they'll figure it out. The question is, how much does it cost? And you cannot be a $600 console. You can't. You will fail right out the gate unless you sell it as a premium device. If you just say, hey, this is a premium device, but you can get games. If this Xbox 1.5 mini console is a slight upgrade over the Xbox One, and you can get 1080p output, and there's games running better on that console, then you might have something, because then people don't have to go out and buy this Scorpio console. They can still play all the games they want to play at a great rate. If it's similar to what the Neo is, where it's like just a couple of up clocks and things like that, and they mess around with it to the point to where now the games run a lot better compared to the Xbox One, but you're selling it at a cheap price that people can purchase. But if they then say this is a premium console that goes with our Elite line, then you can pitch that for $600. You can get this premium Xbox One with an Elite controller and an Elite headset. You can pick up an Elite keyboard and mouse. I think that's what Microsoft is trying to do as well. Think of premium quality products and sell it and see who picks it up, but give people the option to do it. I know damn sure I would. I love new tech. I love new toys. I'm a guy. I'm a man. So, when it comes to tech, when it comes to toys, I'm all about that. So I'm really excited about it. I just wanted to leave that with you guys today and everything. So, just to go through what Kotaku said to finish up, 2017 Xbox, which is codenamed Scorpio, will have a more powerful GPU, according to 3 people familiar with this model. Speaking anonymously, because they were not authorized to speak about Microsoft's plans, we hear that it will also be technically capable of supporting Oculus Rift, and Microsoft is pursuing a partnership with Oculus. Sounds about right. I mean, if you're going to, get Oculus Rift, which I heard is a pretty powerful machine in itself, maybe not as powerful as the HTC Vive, but powerful enough. I think you would want a console good enough to run it, and a 10 teraflop console should be able to pull that off with ease. Oh man, I can't even imagine what they would do with all the forward compatible games like Halo and Gears of War and Forza or Quantum Break, man. Like graphically, that res bump, I'm pretty sure will be a 4K output. Man, so crisp. 4K output. Hey, much respect to all the PC gamers out there that are playing 4K. Okay, I know that screen resolutions for PCs are a lot different than televisions, but just watching something in 4K is amazing. It really is. You actually notice a difference, and you don't even have to be talking about difference between 900p and 1080p. 4K, forget it. Like it's out of this world. So that's it for the show, man. I just want to talk a little bit about it, give you guys a few tidbits on what's happening, all the news and stuff that's coming out that I'm really excited about, and I hope that you guys are excited about it as well. Make sure you keep a lock here, man. I will be back next week. I'm actually going to change my schedule. I'll be getting on at 7 p.m. now, around 7:15 p.m. I've been able to work out something with the wife, which is awesome. She's like, she'll stay up during the day because me getting on at night while she's trying to sleep makes it a problem. So it'll be great. I'm able to knock this out during the day while she watches the kid, and I'm able to get more awesome content out to you guys. So I really appreciate all the support. Definitely check out ticgn.com, the best place to go for gaming news. We support all platforms now. I know that Tick Podcast and Super Podshots is more Xbox centric, but we do support all platforms. Check out TIC Writers Block, which is our multi-platform show, and of course our other two shows, Tick United, which is our movie and TV podcast. They get big focus on movies and TVs and get into that stuff, and of course Multiverse, which has a big focus on comic books and gaming and things like that. So definitely keep it locked here, man. The Inner Circle Network, we are doing it big. I will be at E3. We will have a lot of interviews coming up with a lot of people, man. We got media badges. If you don't know, we are officially media. We have media badges, and we'll be able to get all the scoops and get all that information out to everybody that I'm very, very, very excited about, and bring that stuff to you on ticgn.com. So once again, I want to thank everybody for the support. I'm going to shut down the recording, and I will take a few questions and shut down the show probably within the next 20 minutes. So that's it. I'm your host, KOYSKLL, the last on the planet Xbox, and I'm off this planet. Peace. So while I'm doing this, what I'm doing right now is I'm saving the MP3 version for our iTunes, Apple, Android, Google Play, as well as Stitcher and Podbean listeners out there. We are damn near on everything you could think of in that space. I'm very grateful to all the people out there that listen to us on mobile, man. We have a big following on mobile. I know we don't seem like we have a big following on YouTube, but we get like 22,000 hits a month on mobile, and that's very, very amazing. I'm very appreciative of all the people out there around the world that listen to the show. Very, very grateful for that. So go ahead, get your questions started up, man, and I will check those out in a few minutes, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Okay. So we got that locked up. Now let's see here. Oh man. Shout out to the bit rate, man. If you guys don't know, we have reached out to a great group of people. Some of you guys know him on Twitter. His name is Mr. Cancer. They had a really cool video show, where they would kind of give you recaps and reviews via video. I've reached out to them, and I've made a proposal to them, and by the gods, they have accepted, and they are now part of the Inner Circle LTD, Inner Circle Network, and now will be our video providers right on the front page for ticgn.com. You'll be able to get weekly recaps, quick shot reviews, little things here and there. We're still in the communicative stage because we've just literally joined together yesterday. And I'll be having a meeting with them soon and discussing some of the plans and things and try to get feedback from both. So expect some really awesome things in that regard as well. So let's get to some of these questions out here. I want to thank everybody for joining the show and checking out what's happening. And let's see. Big Bang Kamehameha asks, are you hyped for the Scorpio? Of course I'm hyped for the Scorpio. Why would I not be hyped for the Scorpio, bro? You already know this. I told you. Matter of fact, you're like the only person who told me about new hardware. You're like the only person, bro. You are blessed. You should be lucky you know me. I'm exaggerating, of course, but still, it's true though, man. You know how many people ask me every day who told you this, and you're like the only person that knows. D21 exclusive says, I'm not trying to sound like a hater, but PC gamers aren't going to flock to a new Xbox because they can get the same experience on their PC, especially if Halo 6 goes to Windows 10. Of course they can, but for Microsoft, it's not about the hardware. It really is not. I think you have console gamers out there, and this is proven. There's 20 million Xbox consoles out in the market. Actually, it's probably more than that. The last recorded sales statement, or at least the last recorded guesstimate, came from EA in January of 2016, and it was 20 million consoles. But and it's like 36 million or 38 million PlayStations out there. But you just think about that in the space of consoles. There's still a lot of people out there that purchase consoles. There's still a lot of games that sell more on consoles in comparison to PC. And the same difference, Quantum Break sold better on the Xbox. Matter of fact, I don't think any Xbox game that has released has sold better on PC. So I'm not concerned about PC. As long as the revenue and any profits from that is going to Xbox to create more IPs and bring more unique games to the platform, that's really all I care about. As a JRPG head, I am literally forced to get a PlayStation Neo because they have or PlayStation in general, because they have some really great JRPGs that they're getting ready to drop that I'm interested in, and that's one of the reasons why I want to get it. The NX was something I was interested in as well, but with the president coming out talking about the console will be affordable right out the bat, just tells me that the console is just going to be weak. It just tells me that. Any console that you release that's affordable just tells me about the hardware. You have not gone out and bought a console that costs more to manufacture than it does to sell. And that says a lot. So I just don't think that the NX will be for me unless they present something really, really spectacular or amazing. If Zelda looks amazing at E3, I might pick up an NX as well. I might pick up all three. I think the last time I had all three consoles was the PS2 era. I had a PS2 and an OG Xbox, and I had a GameCube. That was the last time I had all three consoles, and I haven't had three consoles since. Prior to that, last year I had a PS3 and the Xbox 360. I had the PS3 late, and right now I only have an Xbox One. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully the Neo show comes out, because I really want to pick up the Neo over a basic PS4. CV Tech 1 says, I can't wait for E3. Will the cloud be introduced to the X2 Scorpio, you think? I absolutely think it will. Crackdown is scheduled to come out, like the full game is scheduled to come out in 2017. That's what people don't understand. Crackdown's multiplayer is supposed to drop this summer, but this is just the beta. They are testing the cloud. And I think this is the smartest thing that they could possibly do. The last thing you want to do is have something that you've been talking about for the last, I don't know what, 2 years, about how it's going to increase the processing power, and you put the game out and it completely flops or is completely broken. And you just don't want to put yourself in that situation. So I'd rather that the beta, just like Gears was, be broken now, so that way they can fix it. There were little things that happened in Gears that people fell to the floor disappeared, and legs get discombobulated. Those little things that you have 6 months from now to fix. The great thing about this is that they've given themselves an entire year to fix, and I think that's super smart. So we get it this year. They fix it. And they introduce the single player campaign, which actually is not cloud-based at all, but it will have destruction. And the reason why the single player is not cloud-based is because if you blow everything up, then there's no point in playing the game because you would have defeated everybody that's in a building. So I do expect some news from that. Yes, the podcast is on iTunes, J-Main. You can check us out. Just look up TIC Podcast, one word, Google iTunes, Google Android. Just Google iTunes and Google TIC Podcast in MP3 or apps or whatever, and all of our content will pop up. We've been in the MP3 space since April of 2014, and since then we have had over 300,000 hits. Like, you have no idea. I mean, it's different in YouTube because, YouTube, you have to provide videos, and as a podcast, you do a lot of talking. And just recently, I started showing myself and started doing shows live. So it's taken a while for me to get the viewership up. But as a podcaster, I'm just in that space. So it's just natural. And I guess there's a lot of Xbox fans out there who really appreciate it, especially around the world. Shout out to Finland. Finland was the number 4 country for this month that listened to TIC Podcast. Mind blown. Let's see here. Kiss Move says, will Microsoft show Scorpio at E3? If so, wouldn't that kill the vibe for Xbox One? No, Scorpio will not be shown at E3. Rumor is that Scorpio will be shown later in the year. They're going to show the Xbox Mini at E3, which makes sense to do. You show the Xbox Mini at E3. I think the Scorpio comes out the same time in spring as the NX. I really believe that. I think they dropped that console in spring around with the NX. Unless Sony comes out and they announce a PlayStation 4.5, then maybe they push it back to holiday 2017. And that's perfect because that's a mid-gen upgrade. That's 4 years in. It's a mid-gen upgrade. And nobody can really, everybody's complaining about 3 years in. That's a mid-gen upgrade. And what they'll wind up doing is they'll just constantly put out a new, more powerful console, probably every 5 years. But the previous console is still good enough to use. But whatever this new console, 5 years later after the Scorpio, that possibly could be something just as not more. I mean, obviously more powerful, but it may have more features, a better feature set than the previous console in itself. So that could be one way they do things as well. Oh man, that just made me jump all the way to the bottom of the page for some reason, and I lost my space. Give me 1 second as I try to find where that last set of questions was. Okay, here we go. Daniel Cafone asks, do you think Scorpio will release in spring or winter 2017? Already answered that. I think it will release in spring of 2017 unless Sony comes out and announces the PlayStation 4.5 because Microsoft, they may be forced to do that. I don't know if it'll be last minute, but they may be forced to do that and not give the Xbox that space alone to have the most powerful console on the market by itself for the first time in a long time since the OG Xbox. Hulk Smash. Which first-person shooter you getting this fall? Battlefield 1. And I don't know, man. I can't even think what comes out this fall as a first-person shooter. I can't even think off the top of my head. I mean, I'm looking at some of these exclusives, man. You got Recore supposed to drop. I'm not an RTS fan. I probably won't pick up Halo Wars unless I get Halo Wars BC and try it out for myself. But Recore and Gears of War, I'm looking at. I assume they'll drop a Forza. They're supposed to be having some Forza event, so they'll have some type of Forza. And whether it's Forza, Horizon 3 or some new type of Forza, they'll have something. To me, I hate that. I don't know why they're doing that. I think that's really hurting the franchise. I think if they're not recognizing the drop in sales on Forza 6, that is oversaturation, then the next Forza may make them stop. I don't know why Microsoft doing this. Sometimes I just want to just smack, the fire out of people and just wake them up. Like, stop doing these things. You hurt your own franchises when you oversaturate the market. But people buy it, like Call of Duty. We all complain about Call of Duty and people still buy the freaking thing. We all complain, oh my God, Call of Duty is the worst game. Call of Duty just sold 13 million copies. You think Activision's going to stop after that? Microsoft's no different. They're no different. The thing sells over a million copies. So they're going to keep putting it out because it's a moneymaker. Sorry if I'm like sweating, man. I got this lamp in front of me. I'm trying to make sure I get good light because I'm a brown-skinned brother, and in the dark, I can disappear. Let's see here. Jean Charles Bellinger says, "Man, what is the Nintendo NX? Man, what is the Nintendo NX? Is the Xbox next? I don't know what that means, brother. No disrespect. I'm trying to decipher what your sentence is. Xbox. I don't know. Are you trying to say what if the Nintendo NX is the Xbox next? I don't know. I don't know. Buffalo Bill is up in here about to get blocked talking about his Phil Spencer a Scorpio. I don't know. I don't think so. It's Phil Spencer a Scorpio. You a fool. Oh man, let's see. Rakudo, I believe, RKDL says, what do you think about, I want to say that's about, what do you think of, you have a phone app? A phone? Do I think Microsoft may have a phone app? I mean, that's the best thing I can decipher out of that question, if that even is a question. I don't know. Let's see. RKDOX, is the new Xbox a streaming console? I doubt it. They're not going to go with streaming, man. Not this generation, not this next console generation. Maybe in like 2021, they may go all streaming. And in my opinion, at that point, if you haven't heard about how they're starting to figure out how to use cloud and service for graphics, and if you start doing that, the way infrastructure works and the way technology works, bit rates are really moving up when it comes to technology. Maybe not in the rest of the world. In some places, you still only get 5 megabytes per second, but eventually at some point, that's going to wind up getting upgraded. And what will happen is that when it comes to streaming devices, you will probably no longer need consoles. I guarantee you, probably about a generation or two, you may not need consoles in a traditional sense where you're relying on the hardware, because they'll just have things that are able to move the data fast enough to play games between both the internet access itself and the console itself, and produce the quality from local servers at your closest data bank from Microsoft or PlayStation, Microsoft or Sony. Courtney Spence says, hey, Cal, I told you 10 teraflops was possible, but the question is, what are they going to do with that power? Are they going to build more studios or just outsource their IPs? I said this before. A lot of people don't understand this. Outsourcing your IPs is cheaper than building new studios. But I don't think it's smarter. I don't think that it's smarter. And this is why I said this. Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon, two of my favorite RPGs from the Xbox 360 era, are actually owned and trademarked by Microsoft. They own those games. We have not got a sequel from those games because they are reliant on Miss Walker to produce a sequel. This is what I'm talking about. When you become locked in and you rely on outsourcing things, like for example, we get Scalebound, right? And what a lot of people don't realize is that both Scalebound and Quantum Break are actually trilogies. They're supposed to be a series of games. And I know that the Quantum Break series is supposed to be, you know, it was supposed to end, but that's not the end. It's supposed to be a series of games. I remember both Hideki Kamiya saying that, as well as Sam Lake saying that those games were supposed to be a series. And what winds up happening is if the games like Quantum Break, which, you know, the review scores were very polarizing. Some gave it a 10 out of 10. Some gave it a 4 out of 10. Most things were 9s, 8s, 7s. The game sold fairly okay opening. I don't know what it's at right now. I don't think it's broken 1 million, which is disappointing. And I blame that on the reviews because people are so reliant on reviews. And I said this before, people put too much credit into Metacritic. Everyone puts so much stock in Metacritic, and then when one thing happens, you want to destroy it. You know, it can't happen both ways. You can't sit up there and say on Metacritic that, hey, that review score was right for this game while everybody else is right, but that's a BS score. But then you turn around and petition that you want this score to change because it doesn't fit what you want. It's hypocritical. So don't put so much in the review scores. Play the game for yourself, judge it for yourself. But people, especially casuals, rely on review scores. So because they rely on review scores, I think that what winds up happening is that people see it, and if they see a bad review score, they hear a bad word of mouth, they don't pick the game up. They just don't. And it's sad that happened to Quantum Break. Hopefully, by the end of the year, it does well. I don't know what it's doing right now. I know most Microsoft games sell not extremely well, but they all sell well. Every game Microsoft dropped last year went platinum. Every single one of them. They all sold over 1 million. It may not have been 2.7 million like an Uncharted, but it sold over 1 million. Halo was around last time I checked, retail was 3.8. So with digital, it's probably at 4 million. And that's guesstimate, but it's more than likely over 4 million. And that's probably the highest selling game on the Xbox One right now as an exclusive franchise. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But I think outsourcing is smart because they don't have to worry about paying the people. You don't have to worry about paying the people. You don't have to worry about paying the studio costs, the upkeep, the equipment. You don't have to worry about paying for all those things. You know, all you have to do is cut a check and let the studio go to work. You pay for the marketing and you let the studio go to work. That's why outsourcing is so important. And both Sony and both Xbox, I keep saying the thing, both Sony and Microsoft have both been doing that. If you look at some of Sony's top games, they were outsourced except for Uncharted. You know, both games came from studios that Sony don't own. Ratchet and Clank came from Insomniac, which they don't own them. And Bloodborne came from the Dark Souls studio, I forget, NSoft, I believe that's what it's called. And they don't own them either. And those were outsourced titles. And Microsoft's, you know, they have Recore, they have Scalebound, and they have Quantum Break. And all three of those games are outsourced, but they're all owned IPs by Microsoft. So I really think that it's important that they do build first-party studios. I really want them to build a studio in Japan. I don't know why they don't do it. I don't know how difficult it is, but if I was them, I would have done it a long time ago because Japan is just ignoring your system. You're not getting any type of Japanese games, which hurts in a way. But at the same time, I would either open up a first-party studio in Japan, or I would figure out a hell of a way to just oversaturate my console with Western RPGs. If you're not going to have JRPGs, oversaturate your console with Western RPGs. As many Western RPG exclusives that you can get or build, that's what I would have done. Because you just can't have yourself not have a particular title, you know, and you know, but overall, Microsoft has done well when it comes to its diversity in games. They've done a pretty good job. Let's see here. Mr. Sky Blue 1972 asks, what do you think will happen on Windows 10 anniversary? I think Xbox One games will upscale to 4K. No. What? On what? This console? Hell no. Are you crazy? No way. I mean, nah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Not on this console. I think the anniversary edition will add some new features. I think we'll get Cortana. I would not be surprised if they introduce OG Xbox games. I would not be surprised if they had some type of integrated Xbox to Steam situation. And I also would not be surprised, they're going to have music in the background as well. I don't see 4K upscaling. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't care how good the upscaler is. I don't see it. You can, you get games in 1080p, not as often as the competition, but you get games in 1080p. Then to turn around and upscale to 4K, you already upscaling to 1080p. It doesn't make sense to do that. Just think about that. If you had a game that was 720 or 900p and you upscaled to 4K, that is insane. Like, I don't see that. I don't think that's gonna happen. Oh, Titanfall 2 does come out, kid. You're right. No, I'm definitely gonna pick up Titanfall 2. Titanfall was an amazing game. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I had a clan. I'm in a clan actually. I'm a clan leader, but I loved the game, man. I had a lot of fun on Titanfall, and I definitely plan to pick up Titanfall 2. It was one of my favorite games, man. I really hope they have a lot more mechs, a lot more guns, and a lot more maps, and a full single-player campaign, because that whole voice acting thing was not cutting it. The bitrate asks, will Madden 17 just be a carbon copy of years that have passed, or will it try to make changes since the contract with the NFL ends in 2019? Why? All they're going to do is renew it. I swear to God, I thought that we literally did a whole thing for half a second. We all got duped. The Tick crew got duped. We thought that Joe Montana football was going to come out as a retail game for Xbox. And come to find out, the guy who was promoting this game and talking about consoles, and it just was a freaking game that came out on iOS. Most disappointing crap ever. You know what's crazy about that? We were at E3 trying to find him to question it. We couldn't find him. No one could find him. He hid the whole entire E3. Crazy situation. It was bananas. It was bananas. But yeah, man, I don't see it happening. Let's see here. Jean Charles Bellinger says what he meant was if the NX is the Xbox next. I don't think so. No. I mean, the NX supposedly is just supposed to be a traditional console, supposedly, but it's not very powerful. It's not supposed to be overly powerful. Zelda's going to look amazing, but it's not going to look any better than what we've been getting now. I think fans will be blown away because it's Zelda. So seeing Zelda in any type of realistic or close to realistic form will just blow your mind, especially with it being open world. But as far as like graphically, like, oh my God, this is a graphic contender in a year. Nah, I don't see that happening. Not at all. Let's see here. Sword of Democles says we need to start a Kickstarter to get you an AC. Now I have central air, man. I do. I just got this lamp. This lamp is right in front of me, and it can be hot, man. It can be hot. I guess I could turn it just a little bit. I don't want to turn it too much and stuff like that. I don't want to turn on my full light because I don't want to like blow everything. Not blow everything up, but it kind of like makes these shadows go in weird ways and stuff. So. Yeah, maybe that's a lot better, I guess. Let's see here. RKDO says, I think a new IP should take the hit on the first game to build an audience, but definitely make a sequel. I don't know. There's a rumor. We reported a rumor on TICGN about Killer Instinct, which was really dope and interesting, which kind of was like surprising in a way because I remember talking to Ken when he came on the show about turning Perfect Dark into a third-person shooter because Microsoft already had too many first-person shooters, or too many shooters in general. You know, I was like, you guys already have like you already have Halo, which is like your ultimate sci-fi shooter. You have Gears, which is kind of like your third-person horror shooter. And I felt like they really needed a stealth game, something to compete with Metal Gear, but had tech. And I felt like Perfect Dark could have been that mesh between Metal Gear and Deus Ex. It's like you dealt with aliens and you dealt with technology and you was a spy. There was just a lot of things, but making it a third person shooter or a third person adventure or similar like Tomb Raider would have been great, because right after you lost the Tomb Raider franchise as a time exclusive, I think replacing it with someone like Joanna Dark would have been a great thing to do. And sure enough, there was some talk about Joanna Dark could have been in Killer Instinct, but they didn't put her in there. Said they went with General Ram. And, there was supposed to be a Conquer game, but it got scrapped because of some stuff. And there's a possibility they're going to drop Perfect Dark. Like, there's a lot of rumors, man. There's a lot of stuff on TICGN. You guys check it out, man. You won't miss it. Okay, we got a racist in the room. No, not a problem. I need to get some. I'm going to start. There's going to be some people out there that I know I'm really cool with. I'm going to start making them admins to take care of some of this garbage. Thomas White, FromSoft. Correct. I'm sorry. It's not NSoft. It's FromSoft. I know I'm behind on these questions, guys. That's just how it works. Jason Elliott says, man, I don't think Recore will be any good, just a hunch. Recore is designed by the Metroid Prime team as well as the creator of Mega Man. It's inspired by Zelda and Metroid. It is supposed to be a dynamic world in a post-apocalyptic world where there's a very little bit of humans. There's a lot of machines. And in certain instances, you'll get a sandstorm while you're exploring the world, and a sandstorm will wipe out your path and change the entire environment. And now you have to find a new way to go. But before you can do that, you have to hide. You can't get caught in a sandstorm because you'll get killed. And my understanding is like, in a way like Mega Man, what you would do is you have these different robots with these different orbs. You would, go on your adventures and visually get to a boss, fight the boss, and whatever that boss's ability is, you would capture it in the orb. And you're able to put that orb into machines, and those machines are able to use those abilities similar to Mega Man. I'm pretty sure they'll have a Metroidvania style type of map where, you can look up and down, and I don't know exactly how it's going to be designed, whether it's going to be open world, whether it's going to be linear. But what I do know is that it is a AAA game. It's supposed to be a big exclusive. Last time I spoke to Ken Lau about that at E3 last year, that was something that he brought up and I was excited about. So keep an eye out for that. I can't wait to see what it looks like at E3. RKDO says he wants to be in my clan. No doubt. Hit me up on Xbox, man. On Xbox, my name is KOR space lowercase x space KAL space EL. KOR X Kal-El. I am the clan leader of the Kings of Rapture. We have a great community on there. We have over 40 members. We play damn near everything you could think of, from MMOs to shooters to pretty much anything you can think of, even some sports titles here and there. So definitely hit me up on there, man. We'll talk. We'll get you in. We'll get you a KOR tag, and you'll be rocking with the best. It is a little bit hot in here because of this lamp. Let's see here. Now we're about to finish up. The Bitrate asks, do you think HoloLens will incorporate into the Xbox One, or at least have a version made for the console to stay in the VR race with the PSVR and Oculus, or is it dead tech? Well, Oculus is not, I'm not saying Oculus. HoloLens is not made for consoles. HoloLens is more made for business. And then there's ways that developers can take advantage of it. I do think that when they come out with a HoloLens, there will be a regular version and a gaming version. I think they will build a gaming version. You have no choice but to build a gaming version. I don't think they'll have something that you could just use in your everyday life. And that gaming model will be affordable, it'll be cheaper, but it'll be built for games. I think that's the smartest way to do it for such tech. I've said this a billion times. If I was Nintendo I would work out the most amazing deal with Microsoft and come out with the sickest Pokemon game ever. Could you imagine looking on the floor and seeing Pikachu, or looking across and looking up and seeing a freaking Onix in your living room or outside? That would be absolutely bonkers. That would be bonkers, bro. Bonkers. I am telling you. Forget Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh would be dope. You put a card down, a little monster comes out. That's cool. That's cool. But Pokemon, bro, Pokemon, like a real Pokemon battle, just, you know, Charizard standing in front of you shooting. Oh my God, forget it. I don't even want to talk about it no more. I'm getting myself hyped. I don't even play Pokemon like that. Last time I played Pokemon was like 2002 when I had a Game Boy Advance. It was like crazy. Be sick. Let's see. I played Elite Dangerous for a while, but I couldn't really get into it. I don't know. I can't find nothing. Like, I try to do the first mission, it's like find 7 of these canisters, and then I try to travel to where the location is, and I don't know what the hell I'm looking for. It's very confusing. I definitely need some help in that, so I will take any help if anybody wants to help me on Elite Dangerous. That'd be dope. Nintendo working on their own VR thing. I think that'd be pretty cool. Thomas is like, all right, buddy, take a chill pill, relax there. Getting a little bit out of hand. Yeah. So, I mean, that's it, man. That's it for the show. I want to thank everybody who came in and things like that. I think Ark Survival Evolve is an amazing game. Ark Survival Evolve is about to have some type of court litigation. So that's kind of been put on a back burner, but I thought it was an amazing game. I was very addicted to that game. I look forward to it and everything like that. Man, I love doing this Xbox stuff. Look at this. Check this out. You guys see this? This was a thank you card from Rare themselves, signed by Craig Duncan, the head of Rare. How amazing is that, to get a card from people who want to thank you for their support? It's awesome, man. I love doing this podcast and stuff, man. I love doing it. Microsoft is the best. I know a lot of people talk about PlayStation. They're like, why you only podcast for Xbox, man? You just have no idea the connections and friends that I've made with the Xbox executives and developers, man. It's really special. I really love it. And I'm glad I could bring a different perspective and a different type of show to the Xbox community. I know there's guys out there that are a lot, you know, they're raw, they're raunchy, and and I'm more laid back and more logical. But I want to thank you guys for the support. So that's it for the show this week. I'll be back next week, same time, same bat channel, around 7:15, 7:30, and we'll get it popping again next week. And you can find us on iTunes or any mobile device. Just Google TIC Podcast, one word together, and whatever device you're listening to. I'm your host, KLSKLL, the last son of planet Xbox, and I am off this planet. Peace.